Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, back in November last year, I was here on this very spot in Portugal with Kia for the first drives of the EV3, and the weather that day was horrendous. I came back a few months later with Ferrari for the first drives of the 12 Cilindri Spider in those hills in the distance over there. Today, I'm here with Renault and the weather is beautiful. I'm here to drive this, the new R4. Now, if you follow the channel, you'll know how much I love the R5. I think it's one of the best EVs on sale today. This is its big brother. It's bigger, it has more space, but it still has that iconic styling. And if it drives anything like the Renault 5, it's going to be brilliant. And basically, that's all you need to know, because it does. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Only joking, there's plenty to talk about with this one. It is a really interesting car for me. Edgy, quirky looks. Let's get stuck in. Now, thanks to the UK car scrappage scheme, there are lots of old, cool cars that we just don't see anymore, and the Renault 4 is definitely one of those. But in the last 6 months or so, I've been to Morocco and I've been to Turkey on press trips, and you see loads of them, and they are so cool and so quirky. And I think Renault, with the rebirth of the R5, brought back an iconic design, and they did it so well. You look at the new one, you look at the original one, and there's so much crossover in terms of the design. And they've done it again with the R4. I can probably imagine straight away there are some people that aren't going to like this because it does have its edgy quirks, but this is a B-segment crossover style car. It's a little bit higher than the R5. It's got that more rugged, robust look, but it's bigger and more practical. And I think the R5 sits in a space and does a brilliant job. It sits in the city car, second family car, EV space. It does around about 200 miles to a charge. It looks great, it's well priced, and that's why it's selling like hotcakes and winning loads and loads of awards. This car is bigger, maybe more suited to a family. It's not got the world's biggest amount of range, but I tell you what, I reckon it's going to start winning some awards. So let's take a walk around the car and talk through some of the main design features, and then we're going to take it out for a drive. Now, I'm actually here in Portugal for 2 days with this car. Today the weather's really nice. Tomorrow not so much, so we'll probably try and get as much of the driving and filming done today because it is beautiful. We've got the waves coming in, and this car just looks so cool with this backdrop. Let's start our walk around at the front. There are some standout features, one of which I'm not going to be able to show you today, and that's this front here, this huge piece of perspex. It's just shy of 1.5 meters wide. It's the biggest single piece of perspex on any car, apparently, but this whole front is lit up. The Renault badge is lit up, and then you've got daytime running lights as well. And it's quite a slabby, structured front of the car, but I really like that. It's a real standout feature. And again, one of the things that you need to do with this car is keep referencing back to the original R4, and you'll see lots and lots of crossover and similarity. Now, wheel size, we're on 18-inch alloys, and there are 3 different alloy designs to choose from. But I am delighted to see that we're on Michelin E-Primacy tyres. And that's going to be great for efficiency, but also for road noise. I really like the alloy design. Now, there are 3 different trim levels of Renault 4. We'll talk about those when we jump on the inside. I like little touches. This yellow detailing here that we see on the wing, this is actually just a sticker stuck on the wing. We see that on the inside of this particular trim level on the seats, and I think it's really very stylish. You've got these 3 kind of ribs down the side, again nodding back to some of the styling you would have seen in the previous or first generation of Renault 4. And clearly this car is bigger and more robust and more brought up to the modern age than the old one. You see the old Renault 4s driving around, they were really lightweight things, tiny A-pillars, this nice big chunky car now. Big robust set of roof rails. It's this crossover design. You've got the plastic trim around the wheel arches and these lovely big roof rails. Now, roof's an interesting one. So this car, it's the iconic edition, it's the top spec car. It has the optional gloss black roof, so you can kind of set it off against the body colour. But they are also doing a retractable canvas roof. Now, sadly, we haven't got one of those to drive here, but hopefully we might have one at the hotel when we get back later that I can show you. But basically, I think that is the one to go for, because inside the car with this roof, it is a bit dark, but that would be just so cool and so retro, having a removable canvas roof. The next thing, the nod to Renault 4, is this rear light here, and the way that the angle comes back this way. And when you see the modern car, it looks a little bit incongruous and you think, I'm not so sure about that. But then when you look back to the old car, you go, I see why they've done that, and now I like it. And the same thing with these lights. You've got these kind of three elements of the lights here. And again, that is definitely a nod back to R4. I don't think they've done it quite as well as they did with the R5, because the lights on the R5 and the old Renault 5, absolutely spot on. You've got the little R4 badging there. And then the rear is just cool and crossover-y. Now, if you don't like your crossovers, you're not going to like this car. But if you do, I just think it looks really edgy. Now, the final thing, before we have a look at practicalities in terms of boot space, you can probably see from there is it's got quite a decent amount of ground clearance. And that was very useful when we were parking the car in this location, because there's some nasty, quite high rocks, and worried about sort of ripping the bottom of the car off. But you've got quite a decent amount of ground clearance. It's not an off-roader, it's not a 4x4, but if you were having to go into a place that, you know, had either big speed bumps or you were going onto a grassy field camping or something, absolutely spot on. So let's just have a quick chat about boot space, because for me this is where R4 starts to win over R5 in a big way. So the standard boot, we've got all of our stuff in here. I'm here with my mate Bryan from Auto, EV and House of Cars, so I'll put links to his channel below. We've got all our filming kit in the back. The boot itself has a capacity of 420 litres. If you drop the rear seats down, that expands to 1,405 litres. But the really clever trick this car plays, and it's so apt because we've got surfers literally a few hundred yards down the coast, is you can drop the rear seats and the front passenger seat folds flat, so you can get a flat load in this car of up to 2.2 metres long. Perfect for a surfboard, apparently. But yeah, mega practical, loads of space in this car. But it's the inside space for the passengers I want to explore next. So let's go and jump in the back, because I am particularly long in the leg. Let's see how much space I've got as a rear seat passenger. First up, as I've mentioned already, this car would benefit greatly from a panoramic glass roof. It's quite dark in here. But the flip side is you get this lovely headlining, which really is very stylish and kind of contrasts with these seats so well. Space-wise, this car is so much bigger than R5. This driver's seat is set for me, and I've got a 35-inch inside leg. But it's actually not all the way back, because if I do it all the way back, I can't really reach the pedals. I needed to bring the seat forward a little bit. So yes, I am a bit squashed up, but it is a B-segment car after all. You're going to expect a bit of a compromise in here, but for a normal-sized person in the driver's seat, a normal-sized person in the rear seat behind them, there's plenty of space. But the interior in this car, I've mentioned this is the top spec car. It's got the most beautiful seats. We'll talk about the front seats when we jump in the front. They're very similar styling to the R5, but it's just a really nice choice of materials. It's very cool in here. It's just got that real joie de vivre. I knew I was going to say that at some point in this video. Let's jump in the driver's seat, run through the styling up front, and then while it's not raining and it's beautiful and sunny, we'll take the car for a drive. One of the best things about this car is the interior is very much like the R5, which is a really nice interior. Now, there are three trim levels, as I've mentioned: Evolution, Techno and Iconic. We're in the Iconic trim, so I'd kind of expect the very best of all the materials, and I'm not disappointed at all. These seats look wicked. I love the kind of contrast. There's some cloth, there's some Napa leather, you've got that kind of square stitching, you've got this yellow contrast stitching on the dash. You've got the little yellow nod, this little label here, the little stripe on all of the seats is the same as we saw on the front wing. The infotainment system and screens look like they've been taken literally straight out of R5, which is not a bad thing at all. The iconography is the same. I'm not going to talk so much about the infotainment system. It's actually, we're using Google Maps to navigate at the moment, but it's really good. You've got the little online assistant Renault if you want to do all the kind of speech commands. You've got some physical buttons here for your climate control. There are a few things I'm not that fussed on. I've never been a big fan of the lipstick inspired gear selector just there. I'm just not a fan at all. I'd much rather have what you see in the Alpine A290 actually, which is kind of some controls down here. I've got a little flat rubberized pad for my iPhone just there, and it's just a really nice place to be. You've got the multi-sense button on the steering wheel to go through your different drive modes, and the best feature in any Renault, on the left hand side there you've got the My Perso button, where you're able to put all of the ADAS systems, of which there are many by the way, onto one menu, select which ones you want to be activated, and then they're all activated by a double press of the My Perso button each time you start the car. Genius. Now, pricing wise, here's an interesting one. They haven't announced the pricing yet, but the UK is only getting the larger size battery, which is a 52 kilowatt hour battery, coupled to a 150 horsepower motor powering the front wheels. And that gives a WLTP range of just under 250 miles. So I think realistically, early 200s in warmer weather, maybe just below 200 in the winter time. So it's not got the, as I said, not the best range, but what that means is it's actually not a particularly heavy car, or certainly not in terms of an EV anyway, because the curb weight is just 1,462 kilos. So it should provide quite a kind of sporty, dynamic drive. So with those three trim levels and the larger battery, pricing is expected to be starting from around £27,000 going up to around £32,000 for this top spec Iconic edition. And I think that is really good, keen pricing. I think one of the things that Renault have done really well with the R5, which is like sort of 23 to 25, 26, depending on options, I think it's just been priced really well and competitively. And what you end up with the R4 is just a bigger, more practical car that you can get more stuff in, is more comfortable for four people, but has the same kind of cool, quirky vibe. So I think the next thing we need to do is take it up into those hills over there and see how it drives. So driving out of that epic filming spot is where you are really very glad of the slightly higher ground clearance you get in the R4, because there were some really nasty boulders, and then there's a step up to the actual highway tarmac of probably a good 6 inches or more. And what I need to make sure I do, which I didn't do last time I was here, is drive off down the correct side of the road and look the right way for traffic. So I guess the first thing to say is, if you drive the R5, the thing for me that shines out in that car is it has this quirky, cheeky character. And I think that's much to do with the looks and the interior design. You just feel like you're sat in something with a real personality, and then you start to drive the car, and although it's not ballistically quick, it's just fun. It's quick enough, and as a Mini guy, it's got very Mini-esque characteristics. And I guess if you want the faster, more fun one, you buy the A290 from Alpine. This, yes, it's a little bit bigger, but as I said, it's not a huge amount in terms of weight. Really, it's sub 1,500 kilos, 150 horsepower. It's not going to set the world on fire. But in the time I've spent with it so far, the first thing you notice is just how smooth and how quiet the car is, but then also how well put together it is. There's just no rattles in this car at all, and I know you wouldn't expect that because it's a brand new car. But I'm just come out of having a Skoda for the last week, and that was a brand new car with less than 1,000 miles on the clock, and there were a few rattles. In here, nothing. It just feels really solid and really well put together. Certainly that's an improvement from the original R4, which is a car I look at and it terrifies me. I certainly wouldn't ever want to have an accident in an original Renault 4. This one feels much more like it's going to look after me. Now I can hear some speed bong, but as I said, 2 touches of the My Perso button, gone. Genius. Now I don't know how long it is before Euro NCAP get the lawyers on the go and say, I'm not so sure that that's actually playing by the rules we set, but for now it's a genius idea. Now this bit of road up here is very familiar because it's where I was driving a 600 plus horsepower Ferrari 12 Cilindro not that long ago, so it's a slightly different driving experience today. But straight away there's quite a bit of zip out the corners. The steering's got a light feel to it, and it's got quite a darty kind of directional front end. This road's not brilliant in terms of it's got lots of lumps and bumps in it, and the car does seem to kind of like to follow those and feed them back to you quite aggressively, but certainly in terms of fun to drive, it feels great. Now you've got the multi-sense button on the steering wheel to go through the different drive modes. For me, I'd much rather that be a rotator than an actual push button, because you have to kind of push it twice to start engaging it. You've got Eco, Sport and Comfort, and then you've got a personalised or individual setting. I might give Eco a go a bit later, but this bit of road up ahead is really, really quite special. This is where I bought the Ferrari. I'm just hoping that we get a little bit of clear traffic, because it's an absolute corking bit of road. Now, when you drop into the sport mode, on the back of the steering wheel, there are a couple of paddles to help you fix your regenerative braking. I think you've got 4 levels of regenerative braking, and if you go into the very maximum, what a legend, knee down, come on! If you go into the very maximum one, you go into a 1-pedal driving mode. I've currently got no regen set at all, but let's kind of push on a little bit. Now, I'll preface this by saying I'm not expecting this to be a sports car by any means, but I want it to have the driving dynamics and the driving character that its looks suggest it has. It's the kind of car I want to drive home and smile on my way home. Brakes, got a really firm feel on the brakes. There's clearly lots of bikes out. This is a favourite corner for the bikes to get their knee down, because there's loads of cameras around. But as you come out, there's a lot of power on the exit, but it does have quite a bit of torque steer. I'd imagine in the wet, this car's quite lively on the front axle. And it pulls out quite quickly, and then it kind of runs out of puff, because it has only got 150 horsepower. It's not the kind of car that keeps on pulling, but that initial, I would guess we're in kilometers an hour on the speedo, but my guess is from the kind of 15 or 20 miles an hour up to about 40 or 50 miles an hour, you've got a really nice amount of acceleration. Now, I just want to have a very brief chat about charging, because for me, what lets this car down a little bit is its maximum DC charging rate of 100 kilowatts. It'll support up to 11 kilowatts on AC, and that's fine for everybody to want to just plug in at home. But because the range is only around about 200 miles in the real world, for me, to give this car just that extra bit of usability on a longer journey, I want faster charging. You can go from, I think, 15% to 80% in around about half an hour, and if you want a full charge, it's about 55 minutes, so from 0 to 100, about 55 minutes. But if it's supported just maybe 150 to 200 kilowatt charging, I know that changes the architecture of the car, it makes it more expensive, it throws a whole bunch more complexity in. What it means, though, is that you could go on a longer journey. Oh, there's some proper hardware driving around here today. You could go on a longer journey, and then you could just top the car up. F8, yes, there's clearly a Ferrari Owners Club, doing something. You could top the car up and be on your way really quickly. So I think a slightly faster charge rate would help this car a great deal. This road's so good, I'm going back down it the other way, and we'll chase after all those supercars. Here I am trying to be sensible and journalistic and do a car review, and I'm getting distracted by Lamborghinis and Ferraris. I think this car pretty much is driven exactly how I expected it to, with one exception. I didn't expect it to feel so solid and so composed and so smooth. I thought it might be just a little bit more, I don't know, tinny than that, and it really isn't. As I said, the pull away is fine. I don't think it's going to satisfy someone of a sporty nature, unless they do an Alpine version, which would be quite cool. But in weather like this, in scenery like this car's just so cool. For me, I'd have to have the retractable canvas roof, because I just think that would be amazing. But you look at that view, and you imagine, instead of having Bryan sat in the passenger seat, I've got my surfboard there, and I've got my long blonde locks, and I call everyone dude and man, and I wear flip-flops all the time. That's this car's vibe. That's where it would just absolutely show. It's got personality, and I think one of these, I think you could have some real fun choosing the colour and the spec and so on, because it's just a really cool, characterful car, and I love that. And I love what Renault have done with this car. To bring back two icons like the Renault 5 and the Renault 4 is a really brave move. You either do it well or don't do it at all, and thankfully they've done it well on both accounts. I might have to just say the rear lights on this do remind me a little bit of a Fiat 600, but I'll kind of just, it's one of those, once you see it you can't unsee it. But the rest of the styling, I love it. I would love to know what you guys think of the new Renault 4. It's a car that, clearly we've seen it for a few months now, but it's a car I really look forward to driving, and it hasn't disappointed at all. And the best bit is I've managed to get all my filming done while the sun is still shining. I reckon I've got my head around this car, and I absolutely love it. Let me know what you think in the comments below of the new R4. But if you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.